He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
And we are back on the air. Sometimes people write in the comments, yeah, you say you're excited about every guest, you fucking liar. Okay, I am not lying this time. Well, I guess I should say I'm not lying anytime, right? Like I was always been, but I am actually very excited today. Lauren Vandenberg, who is the president of Mortgage Professionals Canada, president and CEO.
I get 2 titles, Ron.
You got 2 titles. Okay, we'll talk about who the head of the board is now. Anyway, that's okay. We'll leave it alone. So we got Lauren is Mortgage Professionals Canada. So you are
a delight,
yes. But also what's the membership? How many mortgage brokers and agents across Canada?
We are over 15,000 members across the country from coast to coast. We've got mortgage brokers, lenders, insurance providers, your friends at CMHC included, and financial institutions, the big banks, lenders. They're all part of the MPC family.
Yep. And I think you're probably over the halfway mark of all mortgage. Well, set aside the bank sales forces. Your membership probably counts for over half of all the mortgage brokers and agents in Canada, right?
Certainly, yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's a big job. Lauren can't say this, nor will she confirm it, but I often suggest that trying to run an association of mortgage brokers has a strong resemblance to herding cats. Okay?
And I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
No, she doesn't know what I'm talking about at all. So, but that's sort of been my opinion for many, many years. But Lauren, just 4 years now, 4.5 years.
Yeah, it'll be my fourth year this fall. Time flies when you're having fun.
So Lauren, look, I've known Lauren for the whole 4 years, and she does a terrific job. And we're very happy to have you here. So thanks, Lauren. So we're going to talk about stuff today that is about the mortgage brokerage industry. And it's a coincidence, but it's a good coincidence that the Mortgage Professionals Canada and all of they've had forerunner names. And the Mortgage Professionals Canada, the version of Mortgage Professionals Canada has been around for about almost 30 years, 28 years, I think, right?
Yeah, a little longer than that.
Maybe longer than that. So it's a long-standing association. And they have always been on the side, and I genuinely, in a genuine way, like in a real, aggressive, honest way, Mortgage Professionals has been on the side of eliminating mortgage document fraud in Canada, which is something that I've been on for the better part of a decade now. So let's talk about it. So you guys have fought hard for this.
We have, yeah. And I do want to take a step back before we jump into what we think the solution would be around mortgage fraud.
No, that's okay.
But I think a couple things. First, thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. What you guys missed behind the scenes was all of the cool promo shots we did. So get ready for too many photos of me on your feed. But I think we start with hi, everyone. Welcome to the housing crisis, right? It is an absolute crisis of affordability, no matter where you are in the country on the property buying spectrum, whether you're a first-time home buyer, someone looking to move up with your family and your budget, or downsize if you're an empty nester. And I think what we would love to sort of yell about today is the impact that mortgage fraud and housing fraud has had on not just the ability of people to afford the home of their dreams, but what that means for the larger credibility and reputation of Canada's financial system writ large. Because I think fundamentally, anyone who's on that home buying spectrum, no matter how sort of up to your eyeballs you are in all of the terminology and the acronyms and the paperwork, fraud still feels like a very, very far away, very nebulous, very much someone else's problem kind of thing. But the reality is that it's absolutely driving up home prices. And not only that, it's creating a really, really detrimental impact on the credibility of Canada as an international financial power. So a lot of things to yell about. And I think what I do want to get to is what we believe the solution is. But I think building up some drama before we get there would be fun.
Sure. Like, because everything you say is true.
Thank you. End of podcast.
Profoundly true. And it's a long-term thing. You know, we have been talking about this, observing this for years and years and years. There's been some massive flare-ups where it's become known to everyone just how big it is. So we can go all the way back to the exposition of the Vancouver model. You know, we're going back, 8-9 years on that one?
It's old school, yeah.
Sam Cooper, great guy, great friend, who really brought this to the fore. You know, we started out with the ridiculous, like literally ridiculous Park Casino scandal, okay?
Yeah.
Where people were bringing in hockey bags full of cash to the casino till, to the cashier, getting it turned into chips, playing for 2 hours, win some, lose some, coming back and taking a check from because that's how it works.
Yeah.
You bring in cash when it's $800,000, you get a check back. They don't give you the cash. They don't count the cash back out to you. Okay. Now with the cash that came in the hockey bags, they had to like wear gloves to make sure they didn't get the cocaine and fentanyl on themselves when they counted the cash out. But like that happened. All these videos of these guys coming in weekend after weekend with hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So what happens when you get that casino check? You would go to the bank and you now have the down payment for real estate, or maybe the cash for real estate. And then that's the perfect money laundering. That is, you've turned your illegal cash into a casino check, gotten the money into a bank because they'll accept the casino check.
Why wouldn't they?
Bought a house,
Yep.
sold a house, and now you've got proceeds from a sale that are a couple of $1 million and nobody can challenge you. You can't be challenged on this fact, okay? I bought a house, sold a house. This is foolproof.
Yep.
And that was the Vancouver model.
Yep.
To launder money at a massive scale. Almost all of the perpetrators from China. Okay, that's just the reality of it. There's a few others. It's not exclusively an ethnocentric thing, but you always have to talk about the reality of where it happens, okay, and who's doing it, and the majority of the people who's doing it. Because let's face it, the ordinary Canadian citizen who is, one of them is working as a healthcare worker and the other one's working for the school board, don't have $800,000 of cash in a hockey bag. Okay, like that's.
This is true.
No, we got to be specific about how it really works because it's a small minority. But to your point, and we'll expand on it, when you buy a house and you have other reasons besides living in it to buy a house, when you're involved in some kind of criminal behavior and you buy a house, you don't care what you pay.
Yeah.
No, you care a bit. Like you don't want to be totally screwed over, but if enough of those people show up, and there was actually a few cases proven that they enjoyed the bidding the price up. Like there was sometimes when the criminals would buy a house, arrange for another group of criminals to even overpay for that house, because in reality it's a better wash. Yeah. I mean, it's a more effective wash of the money. So here's the bulletin, folks, listeners, watchers. That is no good. Because when you sell that house at this extraordinarily high price, you've created something we call a comparable. So that is now the best price in the neighborhood. So when the ordinary folks want to try to buy or sell a house, that becomes the main comp for the real estate. Real estate's based on the last house that's sold in the neighborhood. That's where the prices are based. So yeah, that's all bad for sure.
It's all bad. And I think the way you've put it is absolutely perfect, Ron, because it really demonstrates not only the way that mortgage fraud is driving up house prices, literally and figuratively, but it's also clearly demonstrating the absolute risk potential that Canada represents, right? Like they call it the Vancouver model for a reason. Now,
that's right.
According to CSIS, if you want some really scary numbers, $113 billion are laundered through Canada each and every year. So this is coming from CSIS. This is coming from a variety of academics. One lovely fellow, an econ prof out of RMC, Royal Military College, Christiane Precht, and I'm going to apologize now because I think it's German, not French, and Schuldigung. But lovely guy, very focused on this particular hub of research. Not a lot of folks do it. But if you need some light reading on a Tuesday night to just absolutely depress the out of you, Dirty Money.
You can swear on the podcast.
Oh my God, I'm saving up my one F.
All right, that's fine. All right, okay.
I want to be invited back.
All right. Well, you need to do at least 4 before you get invited back. No, I'm kidding. Lauren's got a real job. Like, she's got a real constituency, a real job. She can't act up like some of my guests can act up because we're just random folks. Okay. Lauren's got a real work, important work.
Yes, I am a grown-up. It's true.
She can't just act out like some of my guests act out, and like I act out every goddamn minute of the podcast. Okay, go right ahead, Lauren.
So we've got now $113 billion each and every year being laundered through this country, which, when you take into account the complete under-resourced law enforcement agencies we have here, plus the complete lack of national coordination of enforcement agencies. And what you have is a country of Canada that has become a remarkably attractive target for criminal activity, both domestic and international. And when we're talking about mortgage fraud, it's this nexus that brings together all of these bad actors and creates an unbelievably unfair competitive advantage in their favor when you instead have honest brokers, home buyers, actors who just want to buy a home and are suddenly, because of all these comps, completely priced out of the catchment for their kids' school neighborhood, right?
Yep.
And I think one of the things that MPC has been a longstanding advocate for and a very prominent voice, particularly in the last few years, is around digital income verification and creating a tool through which the CRA can validate the accuracy of the information that is shared in a mortgage application with everyone involved in touching that file. I do want to yell about a couple things. Can I yell about a couple things?
Yeah. Go off.
We're going to yell about a couple things, Ron. So when I first bought my house, we did it during the pandemic. We are that statistic, right?
Wow.
And we
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We had an 18-month-old in a 2-bedroom apartment with no outdoor space. Believe me when I say we were ready to buy. And it still took us 2 years. 2 years of getting into bidding wars with 44, 45 families on like a nothing shack, right? But that's what you get for downtown Toronto in the pandemic. It was an exhausting process. And even though we were absolutely, like I said, up to our eyeballs in all of the acronyms and all of the vocabulary and all of the processes.
Yeah, you understood the mortgage business. You understood buying a house. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It was still an absolute shock to me to find out what I'm going to share with you next, viewers. Your T4, right? So in all of their infinite wisdom, and there's 2 parts to mortgage fraud I want to talk about. This is the first part. The first part is when you log into your My CRA account, the logic of our lovely friends at the CRA, who do work very hard and are very committed to the protection of very confidential information.
Okay, you can say that. That's fine. I may have another opinion, but you can absolutely say that. Go right ahead.
It's cool. I have to say my piece.
Yes.
Their logic is that you know you're you. Right, when you log into your My CRA account, you've got all the dual authentication identity hoops you're jumping through, and the codes and the verification and the blah blah blah. You know it's you. The problem is that no one is logging into their My CRA account for funsies on like a Tuesday night, right?
No, nobody.
You're logging in to get that information and then take it and give it to someone who does not know you, someone who has no idea who you are and has no reason to trust that this paper is really coming from you because your name isn't on it. How is your name not on your T4, Ronald middle name Butler? Like, this is
you
bananas.
can get it. You can get a T4 with your name on it. You can get it one issued from your company. But yeah, I mean, you're quite right. The level of frustration anybody would have with CRA in terms of the digital output that they grudgingly provide the taxpayer And we're not even going to get into what you had to go through to get that CRA account open, okay? Or the fact that there is still the occasional discussion of faxes when you're dealing with CRA. That occasionally does happen. We're not going to go down that road. But you're right. I mean, it's not easy.
It's absolutely not easy. And not only is your name not on it when you're logging into your own MyCRA account, but the people you're giving this form to, the people you're trying to prove your identity to, and not just your identity, but proving to them that you can in fact afford this astronomically very scary, very expensive financial product, whether it's a mortgage or a boat or a plane. If you're buying a boat or a plane, P.S., and you're watching this, please reach out because I feel like we could be friends.
Particularly the plane.
Particularly the plane, sir.
Plane in particular.
These people don't know you, and they have no way of verifying that the numbers you're giving them are in any way accurate.
No, they can ask for all these documents, but who knows if they're factual or not.
Exactly, because there's no linkage currently between the mortgage application and the numbers you're giving a stranger, a mortgage broker, a car dealership, a lending institution, with the CRA. The keeper, the holy grail of all of the very confidential, very personal, very financial information. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about fraud and how it drives up home prices and how it creates a safe haven for practices like the Vancouver model to be continued in perpetuity, an income verification model, a tool that links from the CRA that allows people to verify the information they're being given, this could arguably eliminate fraud in the mortgage space and the housing sector almost overnight.
Yeah, it's been estimated to be just over a 90% immediate reduction in the amount of potential fraud. Okay, people are still going to try crap. Like, let's also understand something. When Lauren talks about the ability for CRA to verify the documents that people have willingly handed over in order to borrow money to a financial institution, that practice has been going on in the U.S. for nearly 17 years now. Okay, like this is not a novel notion. All right, in the U.S., people hand over their federal tax documents to a lender, and a few hours later, the lender can tell you that it's true or false. It's that simple. So that's all we've ever been chasing. MPC's been chasing for 20 years. I've been chasing for the better part of a decade. So, and just to summarize, this is the financial documents that will allow a bank or any other lender to adjudicate your mortgage, to say, yes, this person does in fact make enough money to afford this mortgage and to buy this property. And when some people out there are saying, new listeners are saying, oh, why would anybody fake that? I mean, Lauren just gave you a perfect example. You're a criminal, okay? You are a criminal who can't show the fact that your income is derived from fentanyl and human trafficking, okay? You have to make up some other method, okay? And even though that is definitely the minority, there are also people who just think, well, I know that the community college down the block is filling itself up with poor victimized foreign students, that they've increased their enrollment in their course loads from 1,600 to 18,000 in a year, and those people need a place to sleep. So I'm going to buy this big house, fill it full of futons, and rent out the space of the futon. Okay, and then I'm going to fill it up with 17 people paying $800 a month, and I'm going to do really well on that. But I don't make enough money to buy the house, so I need fake income documents to allow me to buy the house. Okay, so the reasons why people want to fake income are numerous. They are numerous. Some are criminal, some are bad judgment, some are just, hey, I'm used to lying. Okay, like that's part of the way I operate is lying about stuff. So I'm fine with lying about this if I can get a little bit bigger house than what I want. Okay, so to Lauren's point, chunk of it criminal. All of these fake documents are definitely criminal, and they're criminal when you make a fake document. That's uttering a false instrument. Yep. That's what you've done. That's the actual wording of the statute, but they also represent this most profound unfairness of people who are struggling to buy a house, to afford a house, to qualify for a home. And they're working honestly. They're showing their real documents to all kinds of financial institutions, and they're getting nitpicked and say, well, you need to buy a $50,000 or less house, okay, because we've studied your income. That's how it works. As opposed to just, who cares? I'll just fake the documents so I can buy any house I want, all right? So, and again, people, well, Ron, they got to make the payments. Trust me, they've got ideas in their minds about making the payments, okay? They could have a huge extended family they're going to bring into a home, and some people are working for cash, and some people are working at night, and some people are part-time, so some of their income doesn't qualify, and yet they will make the payments. I mean, that's reality, but still, every time you inject an element of unfairness into the ability to buy a house, you're doing something wrong. It's that simple. And that's what you've illustrated there.
Yeah, because I think what's the expression? Build a better mousetrap and the mouse gets better at fraud.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's the expression, but that's a good one. We're going to use that expression.
You're welcome. But I think this idea that, again, in their infinite wisdom, the CRA was like, well, you don't need your form. You don't need your name on your own form because you know who you are, and we're keeping that information confidential, and everything is fine. But all you have to do is Google T4 plus insert name of financial institution here, and you get reams and reams of search results allowing you to manipulate false information to create a T4 that, again, does not have your name on it, that you can put into your mortgage application document and call it a day.
Oh, yeah. We could spend the whole podcast just talking about how easy this is, and how many how-to videos there are, and how effortless it is. If you are, and I'll say this honestly, there's the number of crooked realtors who encourage this, crooked real estate agents who encourage this. It's not a big number. Most real estate agents have no interest in having their clients fake documents. But for those that do, it's an industry. And they do it on an industrial scale, like a massive scale. And they guarantee the perfection of the documents, right? So at the end of the day, the association and others, some people in our industry, like myself, who are very interested in bringing it into this mortgage document fraud, put pressure on the government. And I'll actually give the shout out to the person who, inside the government of Canada, who spearheaded this initiative, is an honest man called Andrew Bevan. Okay, and Andrew Bevan was the chief of staff of the finance ministry at the time that we were pressing the case. And he just agreed. He said, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense that there's a cadre of people running around with fake income documents successfully getting a mortgage on a house they really shouldn't afford for whatever reason, nefarious or otherwise. Yeah. And Andrew supported us in, I think it's the April budget 2024. Yeah. It was right in the budget. It was there. It was a whole lot. There was line items about stopping mortgage fraud through the creation of a digital interface with CRA. Yep. Okay. It was right there. There was celebration ensued, both from your side, from my side, from everybody who wanted to see this happen in Canada. And like every other government, people change jobs. And Andrew's no longer in government, but he was the wise man who did press this. But since Andrew's departure, who the fuck knows what's going on with this thing now? Okay, the CRA issued a bulletin about this. How long was it? About 2 months ago, Lauren?
A report. So what happened? You're exactly right, Ron. So in the last couple of years, we've seen a tremendous amount of progress. I'm gonna.
You're allowed to cough.
Hope we can cut that off.
We're not, but it makes you seem human. Don't worry.
There we go.
There you go.
My robot is resetting. A tremendous amount of progress thanks to some very dedicated people at MPC over the last couple of years, as well as incredibly passionate, very knowledgeable members like you who joined us for whether it's a lobby day or a one-on-one meeting with not just finance and the CRA, but also PMO and the housing minister.
Everybody.
And I think there's a fairly consistent, unified front when it comes to digital income verification across the industry.
The MPC has done robust lobbying on this for years.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. And I think as a result, we were called out in the fall budget in 2024. We were called out numerous times in the fall economic statement, specifically around digital income verification, which resulted in the stakeholder consultation that the CRA held about a year ago now. And the report that they recently put out, which was delayed by the election, was a what we heard report, which is very much in line with sort of how the public service moves forward in a step-by-step basis following a consultation. Mm-hmm. So it was literally what we heard during the consultation. Mm-hmm. And so we've been having meetings over the summer with the new Secretary of State for National Revenue, because now it's become a Secretary of State role rather than a ministerial portfolio. It lives within finance. We've been meeting with finance. We've been meeting with housing. We've been meeting with PMO to make sure that the government stands by its priority, its commitments to establish and deliver an income verification tool for mortgage applications. And that's what we're continuing to ask for, right? Because there is so much of all of these problems we've been yelling about that could, again, be solved virtually overnight by granting secure access through the CRA for mortgage applications. Now, I do want to be clear here that I think the priority is, one, in keeping it a priority, but two, in making sure that we don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good. I think we need this tool yesterday. And that means I don't think we need to worry about having every single line item incorporated into the tool. I think starting with a few, line 15,000, and building, evolving as the program rolls out. Because we need this yesterday. And I think being able to include brokers in having access to that tool is also incredibly important, because you account for 40% mortgage originations, right? And if you aren't included, if you aren't granted access to that tool, what's going to happen? All of that fraud is going to move downstream to private mortgages, private lending, which we already know, thanks to our friends at FINTRAC, the government is incredibly anxious about. They're incredibly stressed about the nebulous void that they think of as private mortgages. So by making sure that we have something sooner rather than later, that we have the key items, line items covered off, and that brokers get access to it. Come on, man.
Yeah, so Lauren's being very kind towards the people in government and the people in CRA, and as she should. She represents, a huge number of industry types. I, on the other hand, am just some random fat mortgage broker who can say whatever I want to say. And the reality of life is that CRA's approach to this, since it was handed over to him by finance, has been a kind of a version of fuckery. Okay, that's all I could. You don't have to say anything. That's my best assessment of it, because they took 14 months to come out with a report that said, yes, I think this is important, or I think we should do this. Now, I want to say, if the government puts it in the budget that they should do this, I don't think it should take another 14 fucking months to decide, yeah, you're right, we should do this. Why not just do it? So to Lauren's point, just do it. Don't wait for perfection. Don't keep rehashing the rehash. Don't have another committee. Don't do anything like that. Just say, for the sake of speed, let us accommodate the confirmation of line 15,000. And even if it doesn't initially get all the way downstream to the mortgage broker, let's at least make sure that every financial institution has this simple tool that is being used by mortgage lenders in the United States for 17 years, okay? Effectively, efficiently, and has effectively stifled document fraud in that country for the whole 17 years. Like, sure, I know there's going to be a bunch of comments that says, no, Ron, if these people who really want to do fraud, they're going to find a way. You're wrong. Okay, well, you people can fuck yourselves, because it is an efficient, intelligent, and it makes it so much harder, because the point that both Lauren has made and I have made is that right now it is phenomenally easy.
Yes.
With all the forms available online, with the tutorials on document fraud you can take, with the whole industry of people who are willing to provide this service out there, it's phenomenally easy, which is bad, very, very bad. Therefore, by making it harder, by having CRA confirm taxable income, line 15,000 in your tax return. And again, before everybody freaks out about privacy, listen to what Lauren said. Just that for today. Just that. We don't want to know about you. We just want your name, your SIN number, and is that really the right number? We don't want anything else. We don't want to know your deductions. We don't want to know your income. We don't want to know anything. We really don't. And besides, you're giving it freely to us anyway. It's to say, yes, give me the mortgage for $1 million and here's my income information. So we're not going to study how you did your taxes. We're not going to examine all your credits. We don't want to know anything about it, okay? We don't even really want to know if you owe money or not. We don't care. We simply want to know that your net taxable income, which is the best representation of your income, that you've provided us, you've handed it over, is true or false. That's all we're asking. There's nothing more here. It's simplicity itself. So, perfectly true. Just do the easy thing first, CRA. Now that you've passed the 14 months of, probably an okay idea, even though the Department of Finance told you it was the idea already, you've passed your bureaucratic fuckery stage and you're moving closer and closer. I'm killing Lauren here, but we're moving closer and closer to a reality of getting this done, but we're not over the finish line. So let's just get over the finish line. And I know you work in consult. I know there's going to be a moment in time where you have to go back to the people you're in consultation with, and they're going to say, what is wrong with that fat bastard, okay, if he's cursing us for not finishing already. And I think you can, in all good conscience, say, we all wish you were finished already. That's not a bad thing to say, is it? Because every day you're not finished, there's a few more fraudulent mortgage documents provided every single day.
$113 billion each and every year.
Yep.
It adds up so quickly, and the thing about living in a democracy is every so often we get elections, and caretaker periods mean that things are delayed. Things that should have been a heck of a lot closer to the finish line than they were end up being delayed. And now we're in a process of reintroducing ourselves and the issue to some new faces, some old faces in new roles. A lot of moving around happens and shuffling happens from political staffers, from the public servants and senior levels, and just new ministers. So it's been a lot of groundwork for us since the spring election. But on the positive front, there is still that momentum. Our job now, with support of lovely folks like you and all of our lobbyists, our advisory councils, is to make sure that we can continue to hold feet to the fire on this, right? Because you're right, it is simplicity itself. On this hand, you've got $113 billion a year in criminal activity, and over here, you've got line 15,000.
Yeah, we're here's what we also know. This is not, let's say this too. This is not a massive, this is not, Arrive scam. Okay, we don't need $80 million to think this up, because here's what we got to know. Like the big financial institutions and CRA communicate with each other endlessly, day in, day out, on a very secure basis. I know, there could be a lot of comments. No, you're wrong. It's not secure. Okay, well, it's as secure as we're going to get. Okay, it's as good as we can get. I mean, everybody likes to think that the bank information is not secure. The reality of life is the communications from banks is amongst the most secure. No, I'll prove to you it's not. I can show you. No, I don't. You can just put your tinfoil hat back on. I don't need you to show me anything, okay? We know that these are secure channels because, folks, you may not know this or not, but all of your T4 information comes from either the employer or from the payroll company. Every nickel of interest you've ever made on any bank investment goes from those banks to CRA directly. It wasn't just, they didn't depend on you to fill out your tax correctly. They had confirmation of it from the bank. Okay. So there is this ongoing communication happening all the time, daily, between CRA and banks. And this is just one more single yes or no. Again, it's your name, your SIN number. And you're not supposed to say that, right? Like SIN has number in it. So when you say SIN number, you're not saying it right.
I'm not even.
But everybody understands what I'm talking about. So your SIN and line 15,000. That's it. Get a confirmation of that. Every bank knows that it's fine, that you're honest. At that stage, this is a complete certainty that this income is real.
Yeah.
If somebody said, if it's wrong, by the way, if it's wrong, it's not like they're going to send the police to your house. Okay. If it's wrong, we're going to try to figure out why it's wrong. Okay. But here's my experience, because we've caught people using fake documents in our day. We do billions and billions of dollars in our brokerage, and we've caught our fair share. Okay. And sometimes the banks catch them. They say, no, we got an alert out on these people. Okay. Not enough, because it's impossible to catch everybody. So when we do catch them, and we do tell them, hey, the bank is telling us these documents are fake. So can you help us understand what went wrong? And maybe you can find a reason why the bank is not understanding it properly. That inevitably we are told, yes, I will get back to you and I will solve this. You never hear from them again. You never, in my entire career, you never hear from those people again. Okay. And sometimes for certain of them, you will just get a very loud sigh out of them when you tell them, hey, it seems like your income, the bank's saying it's fake. In other words, the caught sigh, like I'm caught. Okay. Look, we've talked a lot about this because it's such an important thing, and it is. And when I tell you that the Association of Mortgage Professionals in Canada has been relentless in this cause, I am telling you the truth. Relentless. It is always at the forefront of their lobbying of the government. It has never not. It's been a decade at least, and it's always the first subject every time. So yes, hats off to MPC, and we're all going to keep fighting for it, and hopefully we can cross the finish line. We thought we had 15 months ago, but we haven't quite got there yet.
Listen, I am an eternal optimist, foolishly so, but...
When you're lobbying government, you need to be an eternal optimist.
You do.
It's a job requirement.
It helps. And I think the appreciation for the industry, for the industry solution we're presenting is there. It's about making sure that the political will remains to get this over the finish line, because I think it's such a straightforward solution, and I think it would make an enormous amount of difference, not just for the broker community, not just for the mortgage channel community, but for Canadians across the country. Yeah,
there's never a reason not to insist on fairness. There's never a good reason. It doesn't make any sense. And there is never a reason not to prevent crime, okay? Which now brings us to the topic of our friends at FINTRAC.
Oh, yay.
Our friends at FINTRAC. Now, I know Lauren is also, again, like sometimes I'm really treading on Lauren's toes, because, I mean, Lauren has a responsibility from the membership to be in the good graces of FINTRAC. So first of all, people don't know what FINTRAC is. I've talked about mortgage fraud so much, they know what mortgage fraud. The majority of people listening to this podcast know what mortgage fraud is and watching it on YouTube. But not everybody understands what FINTRAC is. So, Lauren, I'll let you explain what FINTRAC's duties are.
Thanks, Ron.
That's a nice one, isn't it? You threw that one at you. You weren't expecting it.
Oh, man. I'm going to get the acronym
Just
wrong.
summarize. No, forget the acronym. No, just call it FINTRAC. Nobody has to care. It's just about what are they here to do in Canada? What's FINTRAC about? So
essentially, FINTRAC's mandate is fairly extensive, but at its core, its vision statement, its marching orders is to make sure that it is helping to monitor, track, and apprehend criminal activity, financial criminal activity in the country. And that takes a lot of different shapes and sizes and forms. Terrorism, and, that pesky money laundering we've been talking about. And as a result, FINTRAC has expanded some of its regulations to encompass mortgage brokers.
Yep.
And we are coming up on almost 1 year of those regulations coming into force. And Ron, tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Well, I leave the room because someone's calling my name.
No, we're gonna go me. I'm gonna put the camera strictly on me now. Okay, so you have no involvement. Okay, so here's the story of FINTRAC. By the way, it is absolutely reasonable that there should be a government agency whose duty it is to attempt to catch illegal money transfer. Okay, it's just, it is. By the way, if you want to really understand the history of FINTRAC, it was really a function of 9/11. So it was the United States rational, reasonable, and perfectly fine intention that all over the world, people needed to pay attention to terrorist movement of money. So I would certainly, if I was the U.S. after 9/11, I'd feel exactly the same way. So allied countries agreed to set up agencies to do just this. And so now, just like every other government function and government agency, it just continues to expand. And so what's it meant to do? It's meant to keep everybody involved in the financial industry's eyes on unusual transactions. So in unusual transactions, obviously stuff to do with cash, stuff to do with huge amounts of money. Offshore transfer is a very big thing for FINTRAC. Unusual transfers of money that don't make sense. Like, why is this person depositing $500 worth of cash every week and then transferring it to another person? I mean, they're trying to stay below the $5,000 or $10,000 limits. But so there's a lot to it. But suffice it to say that is their mandate, is to use the tracking of money movement to stop criminals and to stop financing of terrorism. So that's what they're all about. Now, should they be involved in the mortgage brokerage business? Yes, but only for one thing, only for private lending. Because in the mortgage brokerage business, FINTRAC has been operating with the lenders, all lenders, anybody in this country who is involved in handing out mortgages and studying down payment, they have to obey AML rules, which is anti-money laundering, and they are much involved with FINTRAC, and so they should be, and all that stuff. But now FINTRAC and coming to mortgage brokers, other than private lending, which is important, we both talked about it, is very important to where the hell's that money coming from, and then you're washing it through a mortgage, and we need to know, because private lending has virtually no oversight. Very, very little. Okay. There's in some cases, there's trust accounts that are being monitored by both securities commissions and by regulators, provincial regulators, but it's not perfect. And it is definitely creates an opportunity for money laundering. But every single transaction that a mortgage broker does with a bank, a credit union, or any other form of financial institution, they're FINTRACking the shit out of it anyway, okay? And so why are we doing it? And I haven't even touched on the fact that FINTRAC forced every mortgage broker in Canada to adopt its mission, but we still can't access their portal a year later. We want to tell you some information about some suspicious activity we found. Yeah, well, keep it in your desk, and we'll get around to giving you access someday. It's been a year, dudes. Don't worry, we'll get to it, and it's none of your business. Okay, yeah, that's what we have to put up with in our world: is government agencies taking their time. All right, so but you're very supportive of FINTRAC, and I want to make that clear to everybody who's watching and listening.
I'm
very
here.
Supportive of it. Yeah, you are here. Yeah.
Look, but it's no secret that a lot of our pushback around these regs on behalf of the membership, on behalf of the industry, has been the administrative burden that it places on brokers when the information already exists and is shared with FINTRAC by other touch points along the mortgage channel system. Now, I know FINTRAC's argument is that, more eyes on suspicious behavior, suspicious activity, suspicious transactions, the better, right? It feels like the opposite of too many cooks in the kitchen, but I appreciate the rationale behind where they're coming from. What I think we're struggling with is that, okay, fine, we buy into this, we agree that more eyes on bad guys, which is not supposed to rhyme, but there we go, will ultimately help with enforcement and the catching of said bad guys. But if you have nowhere to put the information that you're being charged with
carefully monitoring,
it is a struggle for the industry to be able to do the right thing, because we all do want to do the right thing, no matter how much of a pain in the ass it is to collect the information and make sure you're staying on top of it and continuing the monitoring. Of course it sucks, of course it's a pain, but the reason behind it is valid. But now it doesn't work. right? If you can't access...
If you know something is suspicious, you have no effective means of telling FINTRAC about it.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the epitome of government agency genius, is that you will obey our regulations, but we don't have to do anything either. We don't have to do what we need to do, but you must obey. That's sort of the way it works.
I'm never getting elected to office.
Neither am I. Neither am I for sure. But like at the end of and some people, there's going to be some comments about, yeah, you mortgage brokers, you should keep track of everything. Yeah, you're all dirty anyways. So yeah, FINTRAC should be watching your ass. Well, interestingly, we have no way of telling FINTRAC to watch our ass because they haven't let us into the portal yet. But the other consideration is, these big banks in Canada, and by the way, 87% of all mortgage transactions, one way or another, move through big banks, let's include Desjardins Credit Union in Quebec. So these banks and financial institutions have elaborate systems in place to study money laundering. Mm-hmm. They have massive algorithms that study every inch of it. They know all about it. They do big write-ups. They are extremely well equipped. They can look at the accounts. They can contact other banks when they see suspicious activity to try to get some verification through. That is allowed. That there's that element, yeah, everybody likes privacy, but I think we can all agree that when something is incredibly suspicious, banks can talk to each other. Okay, that's rational. So if all that's true, why are mortgage brokers duplicating all that with a budget that's about 1/100th the size of what a bank can afford? And in the end, it just ends up costing the public something. Somewhere, somehow, there's pointless duplication of regulation. The concept is what we call the airport concept. So the concept of the airport is there's so many bored-looking people asking to see your ID and looking at your bag and feeling up your bag and pulling stuff out of your bag, that as long as we have more and more of those people looking at ID, somehow we'll eventually catch someone. Which doesn't really, if you've ever been on an airplane trip, maybe it's not exactly true, because those are the boredest-looking sons of bitches I ever saw in my life, glancing at your face and looking at your driver's license. I don't think they are the pinnacle of security at all times, but that's where the theory comes from. And yeah, I got to question whether it really works or not.
Yeah, and I think this all goes back to when we're talking about the impact that mortgage fraud has on Canada's credibility internationally writ large as a financial player, is this chronic underfunding of enforcement agencies, but also the lack of national coordination, right? Like the example that we saw in BC of an unregistered mortgage broker, it was something like upwards of 500 million that he...
So let's talk about that. So just so everybody appreciates what it is. Eventually, the regulator in British Columbia determined through a number of consumer complaints that there was a person running around pretending to be a mortgage broker, doing all kinds of shady deals, and then they had a stooge who was an actual mortgage broker that is the one who was actually pushing the deals, the mortgages through to lenders. Okay, but this person had no license of any kind.
Yeah.
They were just pretending they had the ability to do mortgages. And I want you to think for a second. You say, well, they should have caught that guy a long time ago. Okay, I want you to think about it for a minute. You decide that you're going to be a car mechanic, and you start pitching low, that you're going to be able to fix people's car really inexpensively, and just leave your car in this building over here, and then you wait for a couple of days, call a real mechanic in, try to figure it out. I mean, how would you know that guy who had a mechanic building wasn't a mechanic? Okay, I mean, like at the end of the day, it ain't like if you're pretending to be something else, it's hard to find. You're hard to find. Okay. Yeah. Yep. If people with mortgage licenses get audited, like brokerages get audited, the transactions get studied from time to time. Okay, if you're just out in the woods pretending to be a mortgage broker, you're not. It's going to take a long time to catch you.
Well, that's exactly the point, Ron. Right? Because full credit to BCFSA for doing their due diligence on this and gathering all of the information and all of the evidence. But because the guy was unregistered, there was nothing they could do. So what they did was they handed that bundle of evidence, wrapped up in a nice little bow, and gave it to the RCMP, who promptly went, sorry, guys, not our responsibility, not our mandate.
Yeah, so just so everybody understands why. The way law enforcement operations like to approach fraud is they really feel it's important to see a clear loss. They feel it's necessary for somebody to say, yeah, I gave this $50,000 expecting to get it back, and they ran away, and I haven't been able to find them. Which also happens sometimes in the mortgage business, but Greg Martel. But anyway, that happens. But this is hard because none of the people who got the mortgages are irritated particularly. I mean, even though it was fake documents got them the mortgages, even though they paid fees to evildoers to get the mortgages, they're still paying the mortgages. Yeah. For the vast, that is an interesting thing to know, folks. For the vast majority of people who do mortgage fraud, they pay the mortgages for whatever reason. They pay. It could have something to do with the 17 futons and getting $800 a month from each person. But yeah, so the same thing for this unlicensed fake practitioner. The RCMP says, well, where are all the people who lost money? Yeah. Well, nobody lost money so far. There's no complaints so far, but there sure as hell is complete fabrication of information, and there's laws about that. And the response of everybody in law enforcement is, yeah, we know there's laws about it, but we want to see that triggering event of people, of somebody losing money, okay? That's why they will chase the hell out of people who do identity theft to do cash mortgage fraud. Yeah, law enforcement will go after those guys big time because it's easy to, you got money for, you faked an ID and you got money you shouldn't have got. We'll chase them to the ends of the earth, okay? But who got hurt by this mortgage fraud? Well, you can't explain to the RCMP that we all got hurt. We all got hurt by batshit crazy house prices and inflated mortgages and everything. We all got hurt by this. But law enforcement has a tough time with that. Yeah. So hats off to the regulator for doing their best. But what I want to point out from all this is that to support the regulators, to support the various provincial regulators who look after mortgage brokers, is that you are required by your regulations to be so precise in your investigation of bad actors. Yeah. Okay. You have to be very, very diligent. You have to gather vast amounts of information and be able to prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt. Okay. And that ain't easy. Ask any cop who does fraud work. Okay. Yeah. It ain't easy. Yep. We had these crooks at Fortress Development were finally found guilty after, 5 years from seizing their computers and making them shut down the brokerages, mortgage brokerages. I mean, they stole probably $350, $400 million. And they were just found guilty after a 5-year investigation, a lengthy trial. And it was obvious what they did. So the investigation work is huge. Mm. So, and it's understaffed. It's as simple as that. It's just understaffed. I mean, we all we all kind of bitch and moan about our regulators. That's just something. If you're a regulated business, you bitch and moan about the regulators. That's just any sector, every sector. It doesn't matter. If you've got a government regulator, you tend to bitch and moan about them. But the truth is, it's a lot of work because you're taking somebody's livelihood away from them. And every provincial government and and the federal government too says, well, we got to be sure. Yep. If we're going to take somebody's livelihood away, we got to be sure. So being sure is hard. Yes, the burden of proof is extraordinarily high. Exactly. Yeah. And, we think the provincial regulators do the best they can. We'd love to see there be more budget associated with it, but if there's more budget associated with it, there's more mortgage brokerage license fees have to go up, and everybody's a little bit opposed to that. But look, it's true. People in the industry want bad actors out. Mm-hmm. And you've seen it in so many ways all over Canada. So it's obvious to everyone. It's a great point. Look, folks, if you have a complaint about what you think is unfair activities by a mortgage broker, go to there's websites. Go to the websites. File a complaint. Tipsters, hotlines, emails. File the complaint. Look, I mean, I know it's frustrating. It doesn't always work out, but it took complaints to catch this guy who's doing $500 million worth of fake mortgages. Yep. Okay. And it's very, very necessary. Lauren, thank you. Thank you for being a guest. I know it's never easy for a person who represents an association to come on this show. I mean, there's going to be a few phone calls, I'm guessing. Some text is going to come in to say, you sit with that vulgar fat man with his profanities. I mean, this is terrible, but believe me, we're going to get that in the comments too. You never even used your free
I was
F-bomb.
gonna say I was saving my F-bomb for fart.
Thank you, Lauren. We really appreciate it. Love having you.
Thanks so much, Ron.
I think it's a lot of great information for the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
And we're out.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.